G'day, Jonesy. How are you, mate?
Good, Lucky. How you doing, mate?
Good, buddy. You got a beer?
I've got a beer,
Yeah,
so we can stay a while.
we can start. Look, this is going to be the first of what we hope many of segments that we're going to call the Ramble. And the Ramble's going to be picked up as a discussion with some old boys legends as such, but also catch up with some of our friends and mates who might be doing it tough, and just to say g'day and a bit of a reach out and get the message around to the group. So we're lucky enough for Greg to join us. So Greg Jones being the president of the Old Boys Club, he's the one that's going to kick off proceedings. So Greg, yeah, mate, what made you be president of the Old Boys Club?
It's like being president of anything, Luke. It's the last man standing. I think it's a really good organisation, the Old Boys. I've been involved in a few clubs now where they've had them, and I think it adds a lot to the overall club. You know, not just us guys who played in the past, but for the overall club. I think we've got a difficult year to start off with the isolation, but hopefully once we get going, everything will fall into place and we'll achieve our main purpose, which obviously is to get togethers for all of us guys.
Yeah, I think everyone's looking at that. How are you coping personally with COVID? How's things on the Sunshine Coast?
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with the community, how well they did isolate, and yeah, the streets and beaches and everything were all pretty quiet. It's obviously just this last couple of weeks with the relaxation of some of the restrictions, it's picked up again, but no, it didn't make too much difference to our life. When you're retired, mate, you don't have to get out so often.
Yeah. So, mate, what do you think the Old Boys, you know, what we're going to see in the future with the Old Boys Club?
I reckon it'll become a really strong sort of focal point for the ex-players and supporters, everybody who's had anything at all to do with brothers, you know, become involved, and it's just a way of keeping contact with each other. I know over the last 10 or 15 years, you know, we've run into each other at maybe grand finals and things like that, but not on a 2 or 3 or 4 times a year like we'll be able to organise with this Old Boys group. And yeah, I think it's an ideal way to make sure we retain our social links between each other.
Yeah. So what's your role as president?
From afar on the Sunshine Coast, I might say. I don't know. I don't sort of see my role as dominating in any one area, but I'm really happy with the 4 of us, you know, me and yourself and Ronnie Hughes and Al Petty up till now with what we've been able to organise. I know the members probably haven't seen much happening as yet, but over the next few weeks you will, and I'm sure once we start to have a few of these get-togethers, everyone will understand where we're heading.
Why should they join? Why should they get on board with us?
Well, I think it's a bit like any organisation. You know, it's easy to sit back and sit on the fence and not really put much in, but organisations are only as strong as the people who are involved in it. And so the more people we get to join, obviously the more ideas we get and we can satisfy what all the fellas need. And again, I suppose from the financial perspective, not that we're going to have needs for lots of money, but I think one of the good things about our little organisation is that the money sort of stays within our organisation. It doesn't have to go off to any higher levels of the organisations, and it'll come back to all of our members in terms of, you know, maybe some subsidised drinks or food or whatever at some of our functions through the year.
Yeah.
So I'd really encourage everybody, you know, who turned up to those meetings at the Rouse Hotel to make the effort to join.
Yeah. I'm certainly looking forward to the social aspect of things. So, yeah.
Well, what it's all about, mate, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Look, tell us, how did Greg Jones end up at Lismore Rams Brothers?
Well, when I left uni and I first started teaching, I got sent to Scone, and I was down there for 5 years, and then I was lucky enough to get a transfer back up to Woodburn Central School. My parents and Bev's parents lived up near Brunswick Heads, so that was really beneficial for us to get much closer to home. And unknowing to me, the same year that I transferred up there, Kenny Orr transferred from Quindai to coach Brothers again. And I was unaware of that, and one day he turned up down at Woodburn School and wanted to know what was going on, so it was just an opportunity for me to play with some guys I knew, and yeah, loved it ever since.
What was the first impression of the joint?
Yeah, we struggled a bit from results perspective for the first couple of years, but it was a happy club, and I enjoyed that side of things. We didn't have continuity of teams. I don't know why. We seemed to like to be in and out of the side, mainly through injuries. Um, we had some talent, but we just didn't sort of seem to click on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But it was good, you know. Like I enjoyed the way the club was organised, and the guys that were actually running the club were good fellas. And my first impressions were all favourable.
Who was the first person you met outside of that core group from the school?
Well, I met Kenny down there. I ran into Gary Sampson pretty well straight away at the first training session because I sort of knew him from the past. But it was a good group of guys to run into to get to meet. Gary Bolt was really kind to me in the first year I was there. He always made sure things were going okay for me.
Yeah.
Got to know Tommy Sibright pretty early on, and it was been a real good friendship ever since.
Yeah. What you spoke about some of those tough years in the 70s. So I'm guessing, Jonesy, about that era.
Yeah, well, I got there. 78 was my first year with Brothers, and they made the grand final under Dougie Page there not that many years earlier. So they obviously had some good years as well as some not so good years.
Yeah.
But the guys that I played with the first year I was there, Des Kelly had coached just a little bit earlier than that. And like I said, Gary Bolt was there, Mick Hobbins. There's a lot of young fellas in the side.
Yeah.
And we were sort of lucky that we just were able to build on that.
Yeah, well, you turn the 80s in particular was a great period for the club. What do you believe that, an inconsistent 70s teams, why did they turn into winning and consistent 80s teams?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you can put your finger on one thing, Luke. Like there was a fairly different team we had in 1980 to what we had in 1979. We had a lot of new faces come along. Tommy Sibright did a good job with the under-18s in 79. Yeah, they won the comp. And we got a couple of really good footballers come up into the A grade out of that. Kev Gurley and Paul Pidcock. And they added a new dimension to the A grade. And we got Jimmy Bassos came along, Dave McLean. We had a few new fellas that weren't there in the 70s. And and we sort of just worked around those fellas. Bernie McDonald, we were lucky enough to snare him.
Bernie McDonald, I haven't heard of him.
Yeah, I can tell you how humble Bernie McDonald is. The very first year he was here, he never mentioned to anybody that he could kick a goal. And he hadn't kicked. Graham Leeson was kicking and had kicked something like 20 in a row or something. So he was still kicking and kicking very well. And we were down at Woodburn one day playing mid-Richmond, and it was just on half time. And the bell went. We got a penalty right on halfway line. And I said, we'll kick her out and do something. And Bernie said, no, give it here. I can kick that over. And he never looked like missing it. And history tells the story ever since.
There was a decade of good football there, like through the 80s. The team evolved a little bit later on. What you're sort of fairly consistent. You played with most of those teams from the early 80s to the late 80s.
Yeah, well, obviously I coached the first 3 years, and then Bobby Loney took over, and I sort of wanted to get out of his hair and let him coach and do the A grade the way he wanted to do it. So I just had a heap of fun running around in the reserve grade. And we had a really successful decade, didn't we? Like it wasn't many years went by that we didn't win one of the grades. And there was a period of time where we didn't win the A grade for a couple of years, but then we came back when Dennis came along and, we figured in 3 grand finals in a row. So the success obviously makes clubs good places to be. Everybody's happy. Yeah, it was just a great time.
You mentioned, Dennis there before, but what was the making of the Clayton's Cup 87 team?
Well, I think Damon hit the nail on the head when he spoke about Gary Sampson. Like there was a hell of an age gap, between some of us older fellas and then the young guys that just come up later under 18s, Tony Durham and Doggy and Stevie Donnelly. And they were skillful players. And with that combination and the guys that come over from Gunnedah with Dennis, that was a really classy team. And Dennis to my way of thinking, he was coaching like the guys in Sydney are now way back then. You know, he could really, really understand football.
Mate, you said it was a good place to be around at the time, and I've spoken to a few people, and they've, you know, your name comes up a lot around the evolution of the club being the family club it is still to today. What sort of things did you bring anything in at the time, or was it just a matter you've had a really good crew?
Well, one thing, Luke, we had a lot of fellas who had lots of kids at that time, and there was lots and lots of little kids running around, you know, and it just made for a community of brothers people, whether we're at the football or whether we're down at Charlie Wade's or where we were, you know, like it was just, it was a big family with lots and lots of kids. When I played at Scone, there was a bit of a division between A grade and reserve grade, and I always thought to myself, you know, that was bad for the club at that time, and I really can see now, you know, because we certainly were able to develop a really good club, you know, right across the 3 grades as we had in those days.
Mate, how would you sum yourself up as a footballer?
I don't know. Well, no, I love the game. I always had heaps and heaps of satisfaction out of footy. When I was at uni, we had a side, we were undefeated for a couple of years, and we won the Australian Universities Championship, and, you know, just surrounded by really talented footballers, but we never had a coach. Like, we just played ourselves, and we all threw our own 2 bobs worth in. And when I was down at Scone, I was lucky enough for old Bandy Adams to be there at that time, and he was a real old-fashioned coach. Like, he didn't have any high technicalities about the way he went about things, but again, he was really big on camaraderie and getting in and helping everybody and working to your best of your ability all the time. I think, like, especially in my later years, my better abilities were more with organisation than what I was doing myself. You know, I didn't score many tries myself, but I sort of like to think I was able to make a few happen.
Yeah, who were some of your favourite teammates back then, or people that stood out that you remember from your time playing at the club?
We had like, people who are good footballers obviously stand out, but I think the good thing about brothers back in those years, we weren't like A grade and B grade, we're all together. And you go back, we used to always shower and change in the old change rooms there at Trinity College, and everyone mixed in together. And when you say who was your favourite players, you know, like, obviously the better players stand out in the game situation, but we had 99% real good blokes and real good family fellas, and Kenny McRae did a great job when he got to be president of the club, and when we were drinking at the Met, it was just absolutely wonderful time.
I've been told stories around, you know, you'd have 5 or 6 blokes playing Northern Rivers on the Saturday, but they'd already been dropped to play reserve grade on the Sunday. You know, you had a bit of depth there for a while.
Yeah, it was amazing. I think it was 1981, the reserve grade side, they would have made the semis in the A grade for sure. They're a crackerjack side. And we had a heap of guys who'd been playing in Sydney, like Danny Casagrande and Jeff Carl and Bernie and Bardo. Like, all of those guys had been playing regular grade footy in Sydney. And I talked to an old fella down at Nambucca Heads one day who was heavily tied up with Canterbury, and he was filthy that Bernie had decided to move up to Lismore instead of staying in Sydney and playing with Canterbury. They had him earmarked as their A-grade centre. So we had some really quality players, and then, you know, later on with the likes of the younger guys like Terry and Tony that went up and played with the Gold Coast, there was really good smattering of quality footballers through there.
Yeah.
And then there was other guys who didn't make much rep stuff, but to my way of thinking, there were some really good footballers. Like I used to love playing with Greg Fletcher. I thought he was a fabulous winger. And the other night I was watching that 81 grand final, and the try that Binner scored was as good as anyone scored on the wing.
You watched a fair bit of footy over the years, and, you know, I know you've been away for a bit of a period, but is there any one player or a couple of players who you go, geez, I would have liked to have played football with them?
Yeah, well, when I left to go up to Uralla, that was towards 89, I didn't get back to see a lot of games after that. You know, I'd always try and get back for 2 or 3 games and then in the grand final for him. But I was always impressed with Troy McRae. I loved his work rate and his sort of leadership skills. Yeah, he was good.
How can you express how you feel about the club? What does it mean to you?
Well, I reckon 90% of my mates all through my life have been through football clubs. And I was so lucky when I came to Brothers that the club was full of really good fellas and families. And it just made it such a nice place for Bev and I to have our kids involved with. And yeah, well, it wasn't sort of like something that was a figure away from you, like you're just part of it. Because at Brothers in those days, the summer and the winter, we were still all together. Like we'd be playing twilight cricket together. We'd be out at Charlie Wade's farm. We'd be out at Woodlawn having Christmas parties, and the thing just rolled on. Didn't ever stop. And yeah, to me, it was 90% of our life back those days.
Yeah. So where are you now, mate? Tell us a little bit. How's the family? How's Bev going? Where's home now?
Yeah, we live on the Sunshine Coast, just nearly up Mooloolaba. Yeah, Bev's going okay. She's doing her best, and she's hanging in there. Yeah, it's hard, but she's going okay. Yep.
You finished up, Jonesy. Thanks for your time, mate. It's been great to get a little bit of background on your time with Brothers. But we're going to finish with some rapid fire one word answers. All right. Okay. So a few questions here. Let's kick it off. What's your favourite beer?
He's old.
Pre-season training.
It's not the best time of year, but I suppose it's a necessary evil, isn't it?
He's been mentioned already, but Bernie McDonald.
Yeah, just a great bloke, absolute great bloke, and even better footballer.
New South Wales or Queensland?
New South Wales, mate. I live here, but I don't follow them.
Hey, there's plenty of turncoats. Don't you worry, mate. Greatest NRL player of all time?
I really like Wayne Pearce. Some of the blokes earlier than that, like Bobby Fulton was classic. Mick Cronin. Brett Kenny, I thought was pretty flash.
They all can't be the best, mate. Pick one. Come on.
Graham Langlands, probably.
Hanger. Favourite holiday destination?
Well, it used to be the Sunshine Coast. Now we live here. So we're lucky. But I really like Iluka at Easter.
Who's your go-to Mad Monday drinking partner?
The go-to one? Well, if I said Steve Bartlett, I wouldn't be far wrong. He was good fun. You didn't have to tell me that.
Favourite band?
Sorry, Liggy?
Favourite band, mate?
Band? Oh, the Beatles.
Oaks Oval.
Oh, mate, it was home. Yeah, it was absolutely home. Loved it. I can remember one year we played in the grand final and Frankie White was president of South Grafton. So it must have been the 1980 grand final, and he was redoing the roof on the cathedral, and he put bloody South Grafton's flag up on the top of the cathedral on the grand final weekend. No one could get at it. But yeah, Oaks Oval, it was home.
Well, what do you reckon? Do you reckon there was a bit to the whole run to the cathedral end in the second half?
Oh, I don't know. You couldn't prove it scientifically, could you? But by geez, it worked.
Yeah. All right. Movie or book?
No, not real. Don't spend a lot of time with either, Luke.
What's your favourite word?
Word?
Yeah.
Happy days.
Happy days. I love it how you sign off with that. All right. Just to finish up, mate, name 3 people you'd have over for the ultimate dinner party.
Oh, well, you'd always love to have your family, but talking about from a brother's perspective, I'd love to be able to get all the guys from the 3 years that I coached all in a room together at some stage again. I know we've lost Sam now, but I'm sure we need to work on having a big do like that somewhere down the track. Yeah. I was talking to Al Hancock today, and he was only stressing how much we need to get that happening.
That's brilliant. Look, thanks for spending some time with us, mate. I know our members will be really interested to hear from you. I know you're a club favourite, so mate, thanks very much. And I hope we can keep bringing, give a bit of background and stories on our members and some key people, from the club over the years, mate.
Thanks, Luke. I think it's a good thing to do, and I hope we can continue it. And I'll do my best to get around as many of the fellas as I can to make sure it happens.
Good on you, Jonesy. See you, buddy.
Thanks, Luke. Bye, mate.